It's a $59 test. You call your radiology place up, say I'm a self-pay if you want. If you don't want to go through the doctor, it's $59 or $60 or something like that. You go in there, you get a cardiac CT calcium score. That's the basic one. If you have calcium buildup, then you go and get the next test with the contrast. But if you're a 0, then you have nothing to worry about. So just go get tested. If you're over the age of 35, there's no reason why in today's day and age, with the amazing diagnostic tests that we have, that every single bodybuilder out there does, every single person doesn't go get a cardiac CT scan. It's ridiculous. I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution. And we are back for another exciting episode of Heavy Muscle Radio on this April 17th, 2023 afternoon. The Arnold Brazil has let out, and Chris Aceto and I are back in action full time here doing contest reports. How's that feel?
It's like you didn't even go in for surgery, Dave, twice.
I know. It's crazy. I want to send first off, before we forget, because I don't want to forget this, big shout out to our good friend, the algebra wizard himself, Mike Zeltzer, who is in the hospital. He has to outdo me, Chris. I had to go in for cardiac surgery, right? I was in the hospital 2.5 weeks, and he was always, very sending me, messages and everything like that. And he's like, Dave's getting a little too much attention. I think I need to have a heart attack and go into the hospital. So we don't know if he really had a heart attack, but he had some heart pain, and he's in the hospital now. He's going into the cath lab as we speak, probably, for them to check his coronary arteries out. And I want to just send out some prayers.
One of those,
and get ready to get
better. I hope he gets better. He's a great guy, but it's one of those weird, like slip of tongue. It's not a slip of tongue. It's like this weird thing that what could be going on, and you articulate it only as a joke, even though there's a hint of seriousness to it.
Yeah, no, it's very serious. He could have died. And I rant and rave, as you know, on a regular basis about going for your cardiac CT scan. And I know you're very quiet over there because you haven't gotten yours done yet. And Zeltzer, who listens to the show, every show probably we've ever done, he's watched, didn't go get his cardiac CT scan. Had he done that, he would have known that he had some issues with probably blood flow to one of his coronaries. They could have stented it. So it's very important, guys. I know you listen to me. I know you hear me. And I know you say, oh, Dave makes great sense. But you got to go act. It's a $59 test. You call your radiology place up, say I'm a self-pay if you want. If you don't want to go through the doctor, it's $59 or $60 or something like that. You go in there, you get a cardiac CT calcium score. That's the basic one. If you have calcium buildup, then you go and get the next test with the contrast. But if you're a 0, then you have nothing to worry about. So just go get tested. If you're over the age of 35, there's no reason why in today's day and age, with the amazing diagnostic tests that we have, that every single bodybuilder out there does, every single person doesn't go get a cardiac CT scan. It's ridiculous. It's the easiest diagnostic test of all time. You lay in the machine, it's like getting an X-ray. It takes 2 minutes. And,
but Dave, now that COVID is over and corporations aren't making billions of vaccines, you can get a coupon on Groupon for like $29.95.
That for a while that's what the coupon was. It was $59. I don't even know what it costs anymore, but it doesn't matter. And if you want to go to your cardiologist and get a prescription, you can go do that too. And if you're an ultra neurotic like me and you don't want to just get the calcium score and you want to get the cardiac CT angiogram with contrast, they put a little, it's the same thing. It's the same test. It takes an extra 15 minutes. They put a little IV in your arm. They put some contrast in there and they take a picture. They do the CT scan with the contrast so they can visualize the vessels even better. That's how I found out about my aorta. I didn't know I had an enlarged aorta. Why would I? I mean, you don't feel it or anything like that. I went and checked my coronary arteries. They were fine. And then I found out I had an enlarged aorta. So, these are just things you can do. It's just it's dumb not to get it done, because at least if you know you don't have any blockages, you don't have to worry about it. You know you're not going to get a heart attack, you know, or you're not going to have any, any problems with blood flow to your heart. That's one less thing you have to worry about, you know. I have this neurotic, rituals now, Chris, where I get up in the morning, I test my blood sugar, my fasting blood sugar. I test my blood pressure now, because my blood pressure has been a little on the low side. It's good now. And, I just do it again. It's like a habit. It's like brushing my teeth. I do that every morning, so I know what my numbers are.
All those rituals are why you're starting to lose that spark.
There's no spark. My spark is only going up, Chris, as my energy level comes up. I got to be honest with you. You know me. I like to stay up late at night. I've been going to sleep at like 10:30 and waking up. I'm like on hospital time still. I wake up at like 6:37.
You can't post that Instagram thing, can you? The one I sent you about the spark, the little reel.
Oh, yeah, I can pull that up. Hold on.
I didn't know if they may demonetize you, or if there's music on there, shut you down.
I don't know. Let's see. Hold on. It's pretty funny. Chris sent me.
I went to ChatGPT on your behalf, and I said, "How do you reinvigorate that spark?"
Hold on. Let's see if I can play this.
I sent this to Dave.
Chris doesn't send a lot of things to me, so and he sends things that's usually pretty funny.
Out of your
This
mouth.
is the guy.
Sorry. What were you saying?
Oh, is that the wrong one, Chris?
That was one with the whiskey.
Your meal? Yeah, I think I'll have a cup of the whiskey with the H2O croutons.
Oh, this is pretty funny too.
So, do you want the whiskey in a bowl? Oh no, sorry, I was just kidding because you asked what soup I wanted, and these guys are being crazy. So
that's me in the restaurant. No, the other one was.
This is the one. It's the same guy though.
I don't know. I just have this feeling like I'm going to be a really laid back, chill parent. You know. You're gonna be late for school! Just get in the bath! Just get in the bath! Where's the marker cat? Where's the top to the marker? Marker cat! We're walking out the door. Where's your coat? Put your coat on. I told you to put your coat on a million times. Can I get a please? Can I get a thank you? Can I get any kind of manners? You didn't eat any of your dinner. Why would you get dessert? No dinner, no dessert. Maybe it just doesn't make sense. I don't know. I just have this feeling like I'm gonna be a...
That's the one. Oh no,
I didn't see that. I didn't see that one, Chris. That's a really good one, actually.
The other one is it's the first one I sent you, Dave.
Yeah, I know. I didn't realize you sent me more. That was the problem. Hold on. This one. Oh, this one. Here we go. Hold on.
I just feel like we've lost our spark. How could you say that? I just feel like we've lost our spark.
It's pretty funny.
It won't resonate with anyone without kids, Dave, or 20 or 30 or 40 year olds.
I like the one that with the you left the marker cap off, that one. Because that is that's like 100% me, screaming like, I don't know why kids can't put the marker cap on.
Because
I buy so many markers because I'm an art guy. They steal every marker that I can hide. It doesn't matter where I hide them. They'll find the markers and they'll pull the whole thing out. And then I wake up in the morning and every marker is open, no cap on it.
I have a solution for that.
What?
Give them all the markers and then keep yours for yourself so that they can. And whenever
no, that's what I do. But they find mine, Chris. They somehow, my son, he's like a detective. He knows I got something stashed somewhere. He's got to have what I haven't.
Do what I do. I lock. I have my I have my office where I keep all my stuff that's mine locked. Yeah. 2 locks, deadbolt.
I lock the studio here now because my son was rearranging all the camera equipment and the lights and stuff like that because he thought he was going to, have his own movie studio here. Yeah. And every time I'd come in here, I had to reset everything up again. It was driving me nuts. So now I locked the door.
Well, Dave, if you were that age, you would already have like a YouTube station. I don't know, Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
YouTube.
My son's just too lazy to do it. Right. You're right. I would have my own YouTube channel.
Long Island, New York. And you'd be like, Dad, I just.
Can you imagine, Chris, can you imagine today with the work ethic that you and I had as kids, you could have your own YouTube channel and monetize it. I mean, if you're willing to put the work in and do the videos every day, which I would have loved to do anyway, because I like to do all that, technical stuff. I would have had a channel for sure as a kid. I see all these goofy kids. Some of them are making a ton of money. Yeah. Much better than shoveling snow and raking leaves. I got news for you. There's a lot more cash coming in from that.
So funny, Dave. I spent all day yesterday raking leaves. I'll video all the bags for you when I'm done. I'll send you a picture.
You still rake leaves?
No. What I do is I actually called Guy Sistanino. I used to rake because I'm naive. Got it? Wait, it gets worse.
Yeah.
And then, well, if like my wife left town, I'd just hire people and I'd say I raked them. But
yeah, that's what I thought you were going to say. You do. You hire people. It's not a waste of your time.
I had for years like an electric blower, and then I discovered like you have a hurricane style blower where you could like blow the grass right off the ground.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that. Yeah.
Yeah, that took me. What would normally take days and days and days of raking and blowing. I rented a gas blower, and I blew all the leaves into one mega pile.
Right.
It took like 90 minutes. That's it. It was like incredible. And then I started bagging them yesterday, and today, of course, I feel like I did deadlifts. I felt like Joe Mackey. I saw on RX Muscle doing 800 for 4.
I like doing stuff, but to me, that's like a huge waste of time. And it's not that I can't do it. It's so time consuming, and I have so little time to do stuff that I would just be like, you know what? I don't care what I got to pay someone to do it. There's no way I'm fucking raking leaves and then bagging them, which is going to take 8 hours.
Dave, we are on the same. You and I are on the same page.
Oh, you get yelled at by the wife? She doesn't want you hiring anyone?
Well, it should be the wife, and it should be the wife, me and the kids doing it as like like chores or something. But chores is like calling up like John Smith and saying, "Come over and rake everything," and just put.
I'm going to say it's harder to get your kids to mobilize your kids than it is yourself, probably.
Yeah, it is. Well, I have a now at home is only right now the 9-year-old, and I got Andrew Jack Jr. Fareed, my 17-year-old at the gym, and he works morning, noon, and night.
You should just pay them to do it. I'd at least give someone the money.
My 17-year-old life is just like mine at that age. It's school, straight A's. That's me.
That's great.
To the gym. Sometimes it's 6, sometimes before school, sometimes after. That's me.
Wow. He has a gym membership then. He goes to an actual gym. Okay.
And then for, home for like 40 minutes and go work at a ridiculous amount of hours so he has money.
Is he working?
He's waiting tables at a restaurant.
Wow. I'm pretty impressed that he's got that kind of motivation.
Yeah. Most of he might like it, I think, because everyone says how jacked he is when he.
How many days a week does he do the table waiting?
Oh, 5, 7.
Wow. That's pretty motivated.
Because he's decided there's no way. This is another. He's already decided there's zero way I will be at college without a car and without money.
Oh, and you told him the only way he's going to get that is if he works and saves the money himself.
Oh, you think you sound like Otherwise, you want me to just like pay for college, pay for a car too, and pay for. Not paying for it all.
We did the college. We did the Florida prepay, so the kids all have their college paid for already because, in 10, 12 years, whenever they go to college, it's going to be probably 10 times what it is now cost-wise. So we figured, you know what? Let's just pay it off now. If they want to go to after graduate school, that's up to them. But their 4 years are paid for if they go to a Florida school,
Yeah, that'd be like saying, Dave, hey, pay for in 15 years from now, Dave, if you still want a brand new Mercedes, can you pay for it now and we'll give you the same? Of course, right?
Yeah. No, it's true. It's a great program. I said to my wife, I always joke around. I say with our luck, which is not really luck, that's actually a good thing. I said they'll want to go. One of our kids will get into Harvard or something like that, which will be like $1 million a semester by probably the time they go to college, and they won't even be able to use the Florida prepay. She's like, "What do I need to go to Harvard for?" I said, "And hey, you don't understand. You go to Harvard, you can do anything you want after that. It doesn't matter. You leverage everything to let your kids go to Harvard if they can get in." I said, because it's that good of a school and the connections you get. Everyone wants to hire people who graduate.
Yeah, the acceptance rate is, I think, 4%. I think it might be
really low.
And I always told my kids that. They said, "What's the difference between a Harvard education and, let's say, I don't know, pick a really good school in the Northeast that's not an Ivy League or whatever."
Boston University, yeah, Boston University.
Boston
or
University. They may room you with like, who's your father? Oh, he's the president of Goldman Sachs at Harvard. Oh, who's your roommate? Oh, his father's his is the president of Nabisco.
Harvard's got more billionaire dropouts than they do actually graduates, right? And look, Zuckerberg.
Well, Stanford too, because they get the like Elon Musk's and the those types, and they're so bored.
Yeah, they don't want to finish.
Yeah, they have to drop out.
Anyway, but so that's that. I'm glad your son is doing so well. That's awesome. Good work ethic. Very good work.
My 9-year-old doesn't have a job, so I'm just kidding.
Not yet. No, but that's good because a lot of kids today don't want to do anything, Chris. They don't want to work. They don't even want to. You can't even get them to go to the gym. They're so lazy. So your son is doing everything.
They want to go to the Hustler University.
Yeah, it's true. They want to go to do a handout to daddy and mommy or government for.
You can go to do something like online that's get rich quick and not put in any hours. Which, if you can find that, let me know. If someone can find a way to like get rich quick and don't put in any hours.
Kids fall into two categories. They're either super motivated to work because they don't want to have any dependence on their parents. Like they want to be like independent and they want to have their own money. Or they're the complete opposite and they don't want to do anything and they want their parents to pay for everything. There's no in between. It's one or the other. And thank God your son is motivated to make his own money. So
yeah, for sure.
Daddy doesn't have to pay for him the rest of his life. So, all right, let's talk Arnold Brazil. First big show that we've had, I guess, since the Arnold Classic. Really, I mean, so
yeah.
I'm going to pull up some footage of Beirut Tabani.
Dave, hats off though to Tamer. And Tamer and his brother. What's his brother's name?
Tarek.
What is it?
Tarek and Tamer.
Yeah.
Great guys.
Yeah. No, they're doing such a good job down there getting,
especially
good
Brazil,
shows, pro shows, pro qualifiers, which is important. Giving people opportunity who might not, maybe they don't get it if they wouldn't, if Tamer and Tarek were down there.
Beirut, however you pronounce his first name. He's from Iran, and he's another guy that Kamali warned us about. After Hadi Shupin, he said there's 25 Hadi Shupins down there, and I know he had mentioned him to us. We were impressed with him last year. Talk to me about what you like about him. Why did he win the show?
He won the show because he's pretty balanced, pretty much. His legs could be a little bit bigger, but he won the show because he was the best guy there. He's got. If you watched,
I think his legs are huge.
From the side, they are. From the front, they're not that big. They're not that big from the front, Dave. It's funny. You can have big legs from the side, but not, big looking legs from the side. He's got back
adductor, maybe a little more, inner thigh rather. Yeah.
He's got full shoulders that aren't jimmied, and he's got full pecs that look like they're jimmied, meaning they're round enough that you would, make fun of them and say, wow, they're jimmied. He's got full shoulders, really good V-taper from the front and back, really small waist on the front double. Those are like calling cards when you're a judge, when when the athlete comes out to hit his own poses by himself, and your condition's good.
Yeah.
It puts you right in the front, front running position in a lot of shows because,
he's got Levroni delts, right?
Oh yeah, great delts. And the triceps are capped on the like hands on hips, most muscular.
Yeah.
You don't see that a lot. It's unique. He's got a really good flow to his body.
I think if his back came up a little bit more, he'd be really dangerous, this guy.
Yeah. He's dangerous now. He's dangerous now. He's potentially dangerous in any bigger show.
At that elite level, they really love those big backs. I think his back is not quite. It's good, Don't get me wrong. I think it could be better. That's where
Yeah.
I see his. But you know what? And we always say this, Chris. Conditioning wins shows. His conditioning is unbelievable. Right?
Yes, his condition was really good. Yeah, I wouldn't say unbelievable. It was really good.
Oh, you see his glute. I mean, his glutes were ridiculous.
Yeah. No, well, some people have better glutes. I mean, his glutes was his best conditioned body part. So
yeah. What would you, if you were, stacking him up against the Olympia lineup? Where's he gonna? Where's he gonna fare? You think?
Last year's Olympia, not top 10, but he has the potential to be the top 10. Because last year was stacked. I mean, Crizzo was like gigantic and got 11th.
Yeah.
Ian Valier thinks he was 20 pounds overweight. He was just a smidgen off, and he was outside the top 10.
Right.
The Shed Hollingshead, was big and round and dense. He was outside the top 10. Right. So, 9th was Bonac, 10th was Brandeo.
Yeah, it was a tough lineup. So. All right, let's pull up. I'm looking for
Wellington. Wellington was second.
Yeah, I believe confirmed that this is him. Like you with like glasses on.
Yeah, this is him.
Okay.
This is Wellington. Yeah. What do you think?
I don't know much about him. What do you know about him?
What I know about him is
Wellington Fernando Batista from Brazil. So you must know him from Eduardo must have told you something about this guy.
No, I saw him in shows last year. They had a pro show that he just got his pro card to get second in. And you'll see from behind, like he needs more back depth. What is impressive about him that might not show up here in the video is that, especially from the front, he's got a lot of flow. He just looks right from the front. Small waist, lats a little bit high.
Crazy calves. I'll tell you that.
Calves,
people would love those calves.
Yeah.
Glutes and hamstrings, tremendous also.
Yeah, he's polished, and polished with a small waist, gets you far. He's got a phenomenal muscular, like hands on hips. Really good side tricep, good side chest because his pecs are full in that shot. Capped shoulders.
What's he got on his wrist? It looks like he's got it looks like one of those hospital bands that I had when I was in the hospital.
I think he listened to your show last week and got the CAT scan or whatever you wanted people to get, the calcium scan, and he forgot to take it off. No, I think the band at the shows, right? The band, like when you compete, sometimes they make you wear a little band.
You're funny, Chris. That's what it looked like to me. That's the funny thing. Let's.
And then third was Amir.
Yeah, I'm going to pull stuff up. Keep talking.
Amir was third. Obviously, the winner was the winner. I think it was pretty clear cut to people.
What about Wellington? What does Wellington need to do to move up in places?
Size on his back, size on his back on his size on his back. That's it. That's mostly it.
Yeah.
That's mostly it.
Amir Omaragic, who you work with, I thought he was going to be, one of the guys, that we're going to. I thought he was going to win the show, to be honest. When you were sending me pictures, what do you like about him? I mean, and what do you think he could have been better at here, and why was he third place?
I think he needs overall bigger legs.
Mm-hmm.
End of story.
He's got good calves too. Wow.
Yeah, he's got good calves. Calves don't matter. And
no, they don't.
Let's run through his poses. He's not as mature looking and round, even though he's got density. Through the shoulders and pecs compared to the winner, he doesn't have the rounder. He's got square shoulders. He's got the detail from the side, he's got the glutes. Let's see the back, really detailed.
So you think he just needs more muscle and more time, basically, to
I mean, back is really, strong point.
I'll tell you what I am impressed with. All of these guys in the top group, they're all shredded. And you know what? Very rarely do we see a pro show where everyone is in shape. You know, we always say how, oh yeah, there's always someone who doesn't show up in shape, or, you know, there's always someone who misses the mark. Pretty much everyone was in really good shape here. I think his abs were sharper last year. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he might have been, you know, a little watery through the abs.
Yeah.
But he's, you know, overall, I mean, that's, you know, nitpicking, but that's how those are placed, you know, based on nitpicking.
Right. Right. Arnold had to be super happy with this, with the lineup, because I mean, was
Arnold even there?
I don't even know. Was he? I mean, it's the Arnold Classic, right?
Yeah, but I don't think he went to the show.
Oh, he didn't show up. Wow, that's interesting. I wonder why.
I mean, they would have had him on video for sure.
I mean, I didn't watch the whole live stream, but I mean, Brazil is a really, you know, people don't know. I mean, you've been to Brazil many times. I've been to Brazil a lot, and to many shows there. Several Arnold Classics down there, and I will tell you this: the Brazilian fans love bodybuilding so much. The energy level in that place is off the charts, and you know what? That's why Tamer and Tarek are doing so well down there with MuscleCon. They got to be holding 25 shows down there, probably, between amateur and pro shows.
Tamer and Tarek should do a show in Germany, because Germans are the #1 bodybuilding fans, bar none.
You think so?
Ask Levrone, ask Cormier, ask Flex, ask Coleman, ask Dexter. If you've gone to a show in Germany,
I remember FIBO when they were in Germany. FIBO, Germany, yeah.
They had a show back there. I think the last pro show they had, a big one, was I think 15 or 16. I went to it. Besides being crazy sold out, it was like a concert from the beginning to the end of the prejudging. Really? I mean, it was so crazy loud.
And the Germans know how to do things right. They're very, very organized, and everything runs very efficiently on a very tight time clock, as you know. No, but I mean the Brazilians. I was blown away by, you know, when I went down there, you know, several times. Every show we've gone to down there was just crazy, you know, exciting. And I think the best bodybuilders are coming out of Brazil now. What do you think about that statement?
I think the best bodybuilders out of Nigeria, then the Middle East, then Brazil.
I think we're getting a lot, and I'm not talking about just open body, but I'm talking about like all the categories. So we see a lot of people in classic from Brazil. We see wellness. There's a lot of athletes coming out of that country now, and the reason is because the sport is being celebrated there. You ever know? It seems like the countries that get behind the sport, you see the best athletes. I mean, remember when what's his name, Darth Bader, you know, was you know, had all the guys at Oxygen Gym in Kuwait, and you know, and he really is responsible, you know, for that resurgence of the Middle Eastern bodybuilder, because he brought all the best guys out to Kuwait to his gym there. Yep. They were all training there. You know, we made, you know, we goofed around with him a lot and with the camel crew and everything like that, but he really brought he put a lot of money into it, and he brought bodybuilding up to a higher level in the Middle East. And I think that's the reason why it's where it is right now with guys like Ramy and, you know, all the guys that train in Dubai now, is because of, you know, what Bader did. He got everyone excited about it. And so the same thing is kind of going on in Brazil now, as far as I'm concerned. And I think that's why we're seeing so many great Brazilian bodybuilders. I don't see that happening in Nigeria. I just think there's a lot of talent in Nigeria, and that they're coming over to the United States. They're coming, you know, they went through Ireland, they go through Europe. You know, a lot of these athletes, you know, go through the Middle East, but they have a talent pool down there. But you're not seeing like a Nigerian bodybuilding scene like you would in the Middle East or in Brazil.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. That's why when we started covering the show just now, in terms of, you know, Brazil, I said hats off to Tamer and Tarek, because you're right. They're cultivating a good environment there. There's a big fan base. There's a great athletic base, and, you know, the open, the 212, the classic, wellness, bikini, all the divisions. You know.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean,
and like I said, they have they have a ton of shows down there in terms of, pro qualifiers and pro shows like this. I hope they continue to do the Arnold Classic down there because,
oh, they will.
Well, I mean, Arnold wasn't there, so that might be a red flag.
Well, you know what? Yeah, Arnold, can't be everywhere.
No, Tamer. My only criticism of Tamer is that they gave out $400,000 prize money in the U.S. and Tamer only gave. I think the winner here got $385,000.
Was it that close?
No, I'm just kidding. But the fact is, though, you know what? It's an interesting thing. If they did give out $150,000, I bet half the prize money, half the people from the Arnold Classic Ohio would have, gone down to Brazil.
Yeah, well, it's hard. It's still the show is still growing down there. Yeah, you got to get sponsors too. Although probably Brazilians are much more willing to sponsor shows down there because bodybuilding is not like in the United States. It's hard to get sponsors because bodybuilding has got this negative stigma on it. But in other countries, it's like exciting. Like companies would get behind bodybuilding. They're not worried about the stigma of bodybuilding. Now let's pull up. I want to pull up the fourth place finisher here.
Yeah, I forget his name. He was
Joseph Tibetan from the Czech Republic.
Yeah, he was in great condition.
Take a look at him. Once again, Chris, I thought everyone in this top five were shredded. It's crazy, to see conditioning like this in the top five.
Yeah, I don't know if his condition really shows that well on this video, but
it looks pretty good to me. But
yeah, I saw a couple photos, still photos from the show that he was in really, really good condition.
Yeah, and good presentation. He's got good body awareness. Body awareness is something that it's hard to teach someone. You could practice it and get better at it, but if you don't have it just intuitively, a lot of times you could look awkward on stage, and so some people just know their bodies better. Levrone probably had the best body awareness of any Flex Wheeler too, of any competitors that I remember. I mean, Ronnie had terrible body awareness, but he was just so big it didn't matter. Paul Tillett had terrible body awareness too, but Levrone and Flex were like and Melvin Anthony, another guy. It's like they can move every muscle on their body while they're up on that stage.
I got to send you a picture of a video, Dave, of what's the guy who was in crazy comedian back in your day.
Back in my day, Eddie Murphy.
No, keep going, actor.
Chris, you left it open for like 1,000 people we could pick.
I know, Dave, but your brain is like Chat GPT. You like. I can't think of one movie. Yeah, pull up Boff. I can't think of one movie.
I'm pulling up Victor Boff for fifth place here. Hold on. 4.
Pet Detective. He was in Pet Detective.
Oh, the Jim Carrey.
Yeah. What's his name, Dave?
Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey. Before you pause this, hold on. Jim Carrey, I saw skit the other day that hold the video, Dave. Jim Carrey was able to make his forehead and cheeks move like his forehead muscles and his cheek muscles and his jaw muscles, so he could look like Clint Eastwood.
No, a lot of comedians can do that.
Talk about body awareness. If he didn't make it as an actor, he could be an IFBB body awareness coach.
I always loved comedians that can imitate other people, like Rich Little, and there's a lot of good comedians who can people you wouldn't even suspect that do good imitations, and they have these guys nailed down. And it's funny because they get you're right, they get the mannerisms down too, which is really funny. Speaking of Clint Eastwood, he's doing his final movie. He's 92 years old. He's directing his final movie.
What's it called? What's he doing?
I forget what it's called, but it's another like Western, type of thing. I think modern day Western. Isn't that amazing that he could actually direct a movie at
92?
Yeah, 92 years old.
You know why? Because he got all those scans that you warn everyone about all the time.
That's right. Well, he was a big. If you remember, Connolly used to use him for Metrics ads. He was into the whole nutrition thing.
That's right.
Called Cry Macho. Wait, hold on. No. That was his last movie. What's the new movie called? I don't think they've named it yet. It's going to be called Juror Number 2. Described as a thriller that will follow a juror on a murder trial who realizes that he may have caused the victim's death and must grapple with the dilemma of whether to manipulate the jury to save himself or reveal the truth and turn himself in.
That's, it already sounds like a 10.
Yeah. There's no way Eastwood's going to release a bad. He said he wants to release a movie like a hit movie and ride off into the sunset, which would be funny because he always did the westerns back in the day, right?
Yeah,
so.
Sounds like an Academy Award, but the Academy Award will probably give it to some like politically woke movie.
Yeah, or
right?
Although if it's his last movie at 92, the Academy does like the feel good awards too. The people
They'll
who
rig
bring
it.
either.
They'll rig it. The Academy will rig it.
Yeah, it's like the Olympia.
No, but he's a Republican, so he's they may just like woke him out. They may cancel him. You might find like he might say something wrong in the movie, and
yeah. Sometimes you have to throw a Republican a bone though. They'll say, "You see, we're not biased. We gave a Republican that," and then Clint Eastwood drops dead the next day after the thing's over. I got to tell you though, it's got to be nice to know that at 92 years old, he had probably one of the best film acting careers. He was a major director. He's got Academy Awards, and if he could just go out with a final great movie, I think that would be awesome. Now I know speaking of actors, I heard that Jack Nicholson has been he doesn't leave his house. He's become my father basically.
I'm just gonna say, you. It's become you.
No. Not me. No, he's become my father. He won't leave his house. I think he's 80. I think he's like the same age as my dad. He's definitely high 80s, and they say he's not doing that well. I think I don't know if he's got dementia or something like that, but yeah, he just stays in his house all the time. And I'm thinking that's my dad. He probably just goes to doctor's appointments, at this point.
Yeah, well, listen, I don't want you to skip over Victor Boff, who was fifth, because I interrupted.
All right, yeah, let's go back to Victor Boff.
Then we'll go to Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, Victor Boff was second here last year behind your guy, Rafael Brandeo. And I thought that, initially coming into the show, he would be the favorite. It looks like he wasn't quite as crisp as he was last year.
Yeah, he traded size for condition.
Which is a big mistake I think a lot of people make, Chris.
Well, on a Sunday, which is Sunday after a Saturday show, that becomes very apparent. It becomes apparent to you as a competitor in the first call out.
Yeah.
Where if it works, if you trade condition for size and they put you in the middle, you say immediately, great move. But if they don't put you in the middle, you say, oh, I should have come in harder. That's what, Chris?
He was in a lineup of guys that are ultra crazy, nutty, shredded, and it looked like they judged the show based on conditioning, because.
Well, I mean, they judge. You're 100% right. They judge what's up there, and you contrast. Like if guys weren't big and they were shredded, you could start moving them up. But if they're shredded and people got good size too, you're the odd guy out.
And he probably is structurally and physique wise better than some of the guys who beat him, but conditioning just makes guys' bodies look better on stage. I can't, people don't get it yet. Conditioning wins shows. Very rarely do you see a guy win on fullness. Happens. It happens because some lineups are just not that. They're weak. But in a lineup where everyone is ultra peeled, and you come in a little bit off, and he's not bad, he's a little off. I think that he paid the price for it. Like you said, he wound up having to settle for fifth place here, which I'm sure.
Well, this is the a dig I have on some judges. You could come into a show absolutely peeled, which is your best, and everyone knows it's your best, and you're peeled out of your mind. And other guys are very hard, maybe not as peeled as you, but very hard. And the letter B, bigger, not F, fuller. And the judge says, you got to be fuller to the guy who's crazy peeled. And he translates that into, I got to be, yes. And it ends up as, next show comes in fuller, not super peeled. and it just backfires. It's very common. It's very common. People
Protocol,
tell me,
and then they
I talked to someone, so he said I get fuller. I always say, you know what, you're spot on. You need what's called the B, bigger.
Hey, you need more size. You know why? Because when people go into shows, Chris, they've put so much effort and so much time and energy into the show, and they look their best, right? That they could possibly look. They don't want to hear that their best is not good enough. So they would rather hear something like, "Oh, you just need to carb up more. You need 1,000 grams of carbs a day instead of 350." You know, and oh, if I only would have carved up, because they don't want to say to themselves, "Oh, you know what? I'm just not there yet. You know, I need more muscle in my body." You know, it's a much easier thing to handle mentally and say, okay, you know what? I'll do a show in 2 weeks and I'll come in fuller and I'll win the show, rather than say, you know what? I'm just not ready to win the show yet because I'm not there yet. And that's something that people have to really process and understand, that don't always take what the judges say literally. Sometimes fuller, just like you said, means really bigger. It doesn't mean that you should overcarb yourself and come in smoother.
Big Bird in Sesame Street could tell you the most dangerous letter in the bodybuilding alphabet is not B, it's F, which is flat or full. They're
right.
letters that will get you into trouble if you're a competitor or you're a coach.
Mm-hmm.
You have to use those words, flat and full, because it just, or judge tells you flat and full, because it's misleading in terms of what you need to rectify or improve on with your physique.
You notice back in the 90s that no one ever worried about like flat, like everyone just came in ultra peel. Now, sometimes you may over diet for a show, and that's a different story. I'm not talking about over diet. I'm talking about guys just worried about coming in freaky, hard, grainy, nutty looking. No one worried about that full round look. It was like conditioning when shows, the most conditioned guys, you know, usually did the best, and that's what people looked for. And,
Dave, when Mike, I'll give you an anecdote to that. When Mike Francois won the 95 Arnold, Flex Wheeler was doing the show,
right?
And Mike loved Flex's physique, and competed with him, and knew he was extremely dangerous. But on Mike's treadmill was a 4x6 photo, not of Wheeler. There was a 4x6 photo of Andreas Munzer.
The most shredded guy in the world, yeah.
And every morning when he'd get up to do his cardio, that's who he'd stare at the whole time.
That's
of
awesome.
doing, of the 30 or 45 minutes of cardio.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, it's a great, and he had also it's so funny, he had a Munzer photo in his bathroom.
Did he really?
And wait, other than that, he didn't have trophies in his house. He didn't have pictures of him posing in his house. He didn't have bodybuilding memorabilia in his house. In the basement was the picture of on the treadmill of Munzer, and in the bathroom. So he said, the minute I get up in the morning and go to bed, I'd see that picture of Munzer getting ready for that Arnold.
There he is. German giant, may he rest in peace. Yeah, this guy had, I can say I got pretty hard back in my day, when I was competing. This guy was so shredded that he would make the most shredded guys look like they were smooth. And he did very well at pro shows because his conditioning, he didn't have the best structure, but his conditioning was off the charts. And he had an ability to dry out better than any person I've ever seen. I mean, I don't think there was any part of his body, Chris, that wasn't striated, right?
No, nothing. I talked to him once.
Oh, you did?
Yep. Asked him his training program. See if you can take a guess what his split was.
He probably trained each body part twice a week, I bet.
Yeah, Monday, Tuesday. Yeah, he did, and he took Sundays off. So it was the Coleman. Train Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, repeat everything Thursday, Friday, Saturday, rest on Sunday.
Yeah, he could have been bigger, but he probably overtrained and he probably overdieted a little bit. But that was his trademark look. I mean,
Dave, that's why you lead this show, because you said bigger, which I complimented the B word, but you did not fall into the trap of saying fuller.
Right. No, because I know that's a deadly trap, like you said, because these guys don't understand that when a judge tells you fuller, it doesn't necessarily mean fuller. It means you need to get bigger, muscularly speaking. And I hate, and it's a sad because a lot of people mistake that, and then they go to some coach who promises in the world and insulins them up, and I'm not taking shots at Milos at all, because it's not just Milos who does that. So, and Milos has got some very great success with athletes. I'm talking about there are just people who will tell people what they want to hear. Yep, we got to insulin you up, and they come in and they do worse, and then they don't know why. It's because the judges really meant you need to just put more size on, get back to the drawing board, have a good off season, add that muscle that you need back, and then come back better. And that's really the way it goes. Yeah, I'm looking at some of these pictures. He is just an absolute.
You forget what he looked like. You forget what he looked like, right?
And for people who don't know, he died at, right after one of the shows. Right? Did he die backstage, or did he die after the show? I know Momo Aziza died after the show.
No, I think it was just off season or something, right?
I thought, yeah.
How would he have he done in this show?
He would have won. I thought it was at a show. Or maybe it was right after the show.
No, I think it was off season, Dave.
You got to get Wayne on here. Wayne can give us all the details. Yeah, 2 weeks after stepping on stage at the Arnold Classic, Munzer was dead. Blood vessels in his stomach had ruptured. He was rushed to surgery. Despite the efforts of the doctors, he died soon thereafter at age 31. That's weird. Blood vessels in his stomach. Interesting. I'd like to see that autopsy. He had some major problems, though, I think, It's funny because you remember they released his cycle he was on, Chris, after that?
Who's they?
I don't know. One of the, the other bodybuilders knew his cycle or something like that. And you know what? By today's standards, back then it was ridiculous. It seemed insane, the cycle. Today, probably be just a run-of-the-mill cycle. Guys today would be like, that wasn't that bad. So, but the difference was that Andreas probably was getting everything from a pharmacy. So everything probably was 100% real that he was using, I'm sure. Especially coming from Germany. Germany back then had really good anabolic steroids back in the 90s. I know because I had a very good connection over there.
I was waiting for you to say that. I knew you were high on Spain.
Spain was good, but Germany, the Germans were really good too. They had some good stuff, and Germany had access to a lot of stuff from other countries. But I know that there was some German-made stuff there that was like I think like Primobolan was made in Germany, and especially the oral one was there. And they had a lot of. They just had like access to a lot of stuff because you know what? Back then, no one cared about anabolic steroids in Europe. It was like a joke. You can go into a pharmacy in any European country and buy stuff. It was like $2, an amp. You can buy punch-out pills for like $2.50 for 20 of them.
You should have used the college type plan with the guys in Germany, the pharmacists. You could have bought the, I'm going to give you today's prices. I'm going to give you today's prices for the Primo for the year 2023. I'm going to give you $3,000.
Right.
So it's like $900,000 worth of Primo.
What happened was the United States, banned everything, made everything a controlled substance in 1990. The Europeans didn't, but then the U.S. kept putting pressure on them because everyone was going to Europe, and then they started making stuff harder to get over there. So I think the only place you can really buy some stuff that's probably pharmaceutical is probably in the Middle East now, because the Middle East never cared about steroids. They were like, big deal, not a big deal. But I remember back in going to Spain back in the day, and people would just go into a pharmacy and they would buy no one did hormone replacement, right? In the United States, probably till just recently. In the 90s, they were doing their own hormone replacement. They would go and get a shot of depot testosterone, which was 200 milligram amps of tescipionate. And I'd be like, I asked one of the guys, I'm like, what are you buying that for? He's like, I take one a week. He goes, makes me feel great. Good sex drive, good energy. The guy was telling me.
I think, Dave, in the 90s on Gun Hill Road in the Bronx was the equivalent of Germany. Ask Jerry Scalise and Doug Wentz. That's a very joke.
I think it was before the 90s. Wasn't that right before they made it illegal? I think that's when everyone used to get all this stuff.
88, 89, 90. Doug knows.
Yeah.
You didn't even have to. You didn't even have to speak German. You go in there with the Long Island accent.
Well, think about it. If you had to get stuff that was not a controlled substance, they don't track the stuff. So it's like buying like antibiotics, basically. So no one knew what steroids were, and no one even cared about it. So if a pharmacy ordered 20 bottles of testosterone, no one even blinked an eye at it because there was no DEA tracking it because it wasn't controlled. And people were like, just the companies that made it were just happy to sell the stuff. They're like, holy shit, great. Yeah, we'll send whatever you want. Because most people didn't use anabolic steroids. Yeah. They didn't use testosterone. So when the government got an itch up their ass, and after the Barcelona Olympics were coming up, and they made steroids a controlled substance. And by the way, if you want to see a really good interview, watch the interview I did last week with Rick Collins, who explains that the DEA themselves recommended that steroids not be made controlled because they were not really candidates for controlled substances. They didn't really fit the abuse potential of narcotics and stuff like that.
Dave, you want to rant? I don't do rants, but I will do a complaint. Can I issue a complaint?
Yes.
If I wanted to go out probably today and buy any type of anabolic steroid in my state, not my town, it would take me probably, I'm just guessing, 3 weeks, 4 weeks to find someone who knows someone who would, if I wanted fentanyl, tomorrow, in the next 3 minutes, or some perks in the next 3 minutes, I know where to find it, and I can get it abundantly. So, I mean,
perks, that's why.
That's why we have people post the video, Dave. That's why we have people driving into my buildings backwards, because they're not on tests. They're on fentanyl. That I sent you the video of the lady driving backwards into. I sent Dave a video of a lady driving into my building last week.
I got to tell you, you don't get upset by anything. I've seen some pretty bad shit happen to your buildings, and you're like, well, yeah, all right, we'll fix it.
Yeah.
You don't get all wound up. Although maybe you're just portraying yourself as not getting wound up to me, and meanwhile behind the scenes,
no, Dave, because you know what my attitude is. Everything is always this. I can anything that goes on with the building. People always say that. They say, God, you're not going crazy. You're not pulling your hair out. You're not. So long as there's no fire and people are dying,
right?
Everything can be fixed because people have had buildings, right, with the best sprinkler systems that something happens, emergency door doesn't open, and people die in it, so
getting back to the Rick Collins interview, do you know who was the person who spearheaded the whole "let's make steroids a controlled substance" back in 1990? Here's a good.
Let me take a guess. Al Gore.
No, close.
Wouldn't be Bill Clinton.
Joe Biden himself.
Are you serious? That's right.
Yeah, he spearheaded that whole thing. He pushed to get the anabolics put on the Controlled Substance Act. Yeah.
Yeah. So Junior can import like Serostim from China now.
I find it's really ironic. How many years ago was 1990? Right? It was 3 years ago. And Biden was responsible for that. And back then, he actually was coherent. He didn't have dementia back then. So
I think it was him and Orrin Hatch. Was it him and Orrin Hatch?
I think Orrin Hatch was against it. I think Hatch was always for the rights of the supplements. Because Black used to brag about. I talked to Orrin Hatch all the time. Protects the supplements, because Twin Lab put an enormous amount of money probably into his re-election campaign, because Orrin Hatch was the only one who was protecting nutritional supplements and didn't want to ban them. They wanted to make those banned too.
Orrin Hatch was the senator from, I think,
Texas,
Utah.
Right? Oh, Utah.
Utah, and a lot of big companies, including Weider, had big facilities in Utah, manufacturing facilities. Yeah. So. If you remember, I think Weider had a huge facility out there at one point. Yep. And so they would bribe. It's called lobby. Sorry, Dave. They would just give money to like Orrin Hatch's campaign, and then Orrin Hatch would lobby on behalf of the supplement industry that, let us do what we want.
Thank God they found someone, who was willing to do that, because they really wanted to make amino acids, protein powders, vitamin. They wanted to make that all by prescription because they wanted the drug companies to benefit from that. Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God that Hatch was there and he stepped in, and he's still, even to this day, I think he's still fighting them on all this stuff.
Yeah.
From what I understand. It's crazy. It's a crazy world. Rick Collins also told me, there was some false information put out there that, they were going to change the laws on testosterone replacement, and they were going to make it so that you couldn't do telemedicine anymore, and that you were going to have to see your doctor.
That's true, right?
It's not true. No, Chris Bell released that information that you're going to have to see your doctor every 30 days in person. That was not true. What Rick Collins, and if you go back and watch, if anyone's watching this, go watch the Rick Collins interview. It's like 20 minutes. It's worth listening to. Rick kind of clarifies everything, and what he explains is that what they want to do, and they don't even know if they're going to pass it, is they want to make it so that you have to see a doctor at least once in person. So if you see a doctor who validates that you're healthy and that you need that hormone replacement is warranted in your case because of your blood work, then you never have to go see the doctor in person. Then you can do everything via telemedicine after that. So in the worst case scenario, let's say you get your testosterone replacement from Titan Medical Center down here in Tampa, Florida, and you might have to take one trip there to see the doctor once in person. And then after that, it'll just be, telemedicine every 6 months. But, it's, people were all worried because they thought they were going to have to do it every 30 days. And they thought they were trying to take away the TRT. They're not doing that. And the reason why they'll never do that is because all these congressmen and senators and representatives, they all take testosterone replacement now. It's standard hat. My doctor friend, Dr. Mike, said this, and I've repeated this a million times, so I'm not going senile, but Dr. Mike said back in the 90s, once these congressmen realized that testosterone gives you better boners, he goes, they'll never make it illegal after that. They'll find ways to make it accessible to get because they want their boner medication. They want their Viagra, they want their Cialis, they want their testosterone. And he was 100% right. 30-something years later, he was right on the ball. Mm-hmm. Once all the younger congressmen who were coming up realized, you know what? I feel a lot better on this stuff. They're not going to ban this stuff. They're not going to make it hard to get.
So they can get it at Titan Medical. Let's put in a little ad.
Yeah, that's right. Well, sometimes, the problem is, it's hard to get it from your physician a lot of times that you go to, your primary. And the reason is that every prescription that these doctors write is a controlled substance script. So they get tracked by the DEA. So these doctors are afraid to write too many testosterone prescriptions because they think they're going to be questioned by the DEA and they don't want to lose their license. So they would rather just defer it off to someone else. Go to a clinic. I don't want to be bothered with this. Yeah. Now, if they decriminalized just testosterone, I'm not talking about all anabolic steroids. If testosterone was decriminalized and was taken off the Controlled Substance Act, which should never have been put on there to begin with, then doctors will prescribe it because now they're not being tracked. And now they feel, you know what, if your levels are low, I'll write a prescription for you and it's not a big deal. Yeah. So I think that's where we need to go with testosterone. The place we went, I mean, look, they decriminalized marijuana in several states and they might even do it federally. I don't see why they can't do the same for testosterone. It doesn't make any sense at this point. Estrogen and progesterone are not controlled substances. If you want to go on the pill for birth control, you don't have to get a controlled substance, prescription and register with the DEA. So it's kind of ridiculous that testosterone is on that list. But, that's the country. We live in as my father would say, a puritanical society where they like to, everything is up. They're uptight about everything, related to sex or nothing. If it's not religious, then they're uptight about it,
puritanical for you, but not them.
Right.
Right.
Meanwhile, they're having sex with underage kids,
or just, you name it.
There was a teacher in the middle school. My kids don't go to the middle school, but they're right next to the middle school. But in the school right next to theirs, there was a teacher, and he was sending dick pics to teenage girls in his class.
Of course.
They found out, and they arrested him, whatever, and and then they were digging further, and they found child pornography shit on his computer. People have got to be out of their fucking mind, Chris. In today's day and age where everything you do is tracked, text messages, computer emails, you've got to be a fucking nutcase to, if you're into porn and child porn, to be sending that via texts, you know, and emails where, you know, they could track. It's like, it's not even hard to track. They can track anyone. And so this guy was a nutcase. And you know what? Every person, my wife was talking to some of the kids whose younger siblings go to the preschool across the street. And they were like, oh yeah, he was a really nice guy. I said, well, of course he's a predator. Predators are not creepy looking. They're nice guys. That's why they're good predators, you know?
Well, Dave, the guy in Maine who 2 election cycles ago ran for governor and barely lost. He was arrested last year for child porn charges. And he was, you know what? He was one of the most, you know, I wouldn't say the most successful lawyers in the United States, but probably like the top 2,000 list, you know, of all the lawyers in the United States. And he had on Pine Street in Portland a phenomenal home, like architectural digest home from like the 1880s.
Oh, really?
And I used to drive by that house. I have like,
buy that house now. I got to buy that house from him. I got to buy it.
You know what's so funny? When the news hit that he was arrested, I called my broker, and the first thing I did, I called my broker and I said, I forgot the number Pine Street that it was, but I told him that the house is going up for sale, and he said, what do you mean? And I said, check the news this morning. And sure enough, it went up for sale like a week later.
What were they selling it for?
No, like I think like 1.6. He bought it for like 1. Huh?
Would you have bought something like that? I mean, considered it?
I would have loved to live there. I looked at it online at 1, and I like daydreamed like living there. I said my kids would ruin that house. You know, it's too much woodwork from the 1880s, even though it's solid wood, not the, you know. So that'd be
beautiful house that would be to live in, though, Chris.
You know, Dave, you said I'll send you the house. I'll send you when I get offline.
All right.
The markers, you had the issue with the markers without caps on. Those capless markers have a way of making their way.
Oh, they get written. My daughter wrote a parallel line. She made a highway across the whole bamboo floor the other day. My wife almost killed her. She had to like get the magic sponge out and, you know, get it off. Thank God. So,
I once went over someone's house. I once went over someone's house. This guy was really successful, really respected in the community, and the whole house on the inside was magic markers all over the walls.
No way! Oh my God!
And so his persona outside was like got it all together, like gives advice to people on business and life. And his whole entire house was, he had 6 kids, and the whole entire house, everywhere you would never expect it. The dining room's got like pink magic marker on it. And I'd be like, what's going on? I asked him about it. He says, my kids are wild inside the house, you know?
I told my wife, I said, whenever she says, we got to have this thing repainted, I said, listen,
just move
Chris up. No, Chris said, don't fix anything till they're 18.
That's right. Remember, Dave, I told you this. Yeah, I told Jose that the other day about. I think I've told you my like.
You're like, these kids make holes in the walls. You're like, don't fix anything till they're 18.
Get rebroken.
All right. Well, good show. Congratulations, obviously, to Behrouz Tabani from Iran. He not only wins the Arnold Brazil, but he qualifies for the 2023 Olympia. Another great competitor that's going to be added to that lineup. And great job, Tarek and Tamer and Arnold, because it was a very successful weekend. I know it was a 3-day expo. Probably today. I mean, we're recording this on Sunday, so probably they have the third day of the expo today. And I know the expos in Brazil have always been super crazy.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, you used to work the booth there. The only time I've ever seen Chris Aceto at a booth in modern day was in Brazil. I think, what was it? Was that Probiotica you were at the booth?
That was Probiotica. I've told the story before on this show that the Brazilian fans, when Arnold came down to the floor, it was to the trade show floor to walk around and like go visit the advertisers, you know, like a walk of goodwill to go by and like, shake people's hands, be business savvy. He must have had about 18 people. They all locked arms and circled bodyguards around Arnold. The fans broke through. And wait, and Arnold, Dave, I'll never forget because I was 10 feet away. Arnold's face was pissed and panicked.
Really?
Because the fans had broken through. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, you think he had a good security force? He always had great.
And when he was walking through, You know how he walks, kind of like gallops, and he's kind of like.
He doesn't want to worry about someone grabbing him or doing anything.
I don't think he looks like, not Frankenstein.
He looks like Arnold. He looks like the Terminator.
Yeah. So he's walking through, and people pushing and shoving and pushing and shoving, and you could see on his face, like, some hint of like, concern, like moving his head around, like looking around. And then when they broke through, that was it. He was pissed and panicked, which is the odd part. You know what I mean? You'd think like.
Because there's crazy fucking fans all over the place. You know that. All it takes is one lunatic to stick a knife in his back or something like that. You don't know what's going to happen. You're in a foreign country. Your security force is letting people through. It could be a little unnerving. You and I don't really know what that's like because we don't have people mobbing us when we go places. But Arnold is a big time name. And,
Arnold looks like, that's it, Dave. Eddie Munster's father from Munsters. With the chestnut, right?
Herman Munster?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They walk a lot.
Yeah. It was a successful weekend, and I'm glad that show has been going on, regularly, and that it's being continued and run by Tamer and Tarek now because they do a great job over there. And they have really built bodybuilding in Brazil to be something very special. And that's they should be commended for that. And we are out of time. And you know what we say every week here at Heavy Muscle Radio?
The truth hurts.
Sure does. Good night, everyone. We'll see you again next week.